All right, joining us now to discuss this is the director at the Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, Professor Anthony Kila. Professor, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, being a professor, I know books will be part of your hobby. Reading will be part of your hobby. But let me ask generally, when it comes to the kind of book, there are books on business, books on politics, books on history. Which is your favorite?
Oh, which is my favorite book? Oh, dear. Well, for starters, reading is not my hobby. Reading is just part of me.
Oh, wow.
That's hobby something else.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. My hobby is cooking and all that kind of thing. Not reading. It's cooking, it's farming, it's making drinks. It's something else.
Interesting.
Hobby is fun. But well, for somebody like me, and I'm not the only one, and it's not because I'm a professor. It's just because that is the way I've been brought up, and that's what I believe in. A book is where you go to for information, whether it's printed book or e-books now, because some people keep thinking about just one kind of book. You know, that is the key to the world. That is where you learn from. That is what allows you to speak with knowledge and authority. That is what allows you to express yourself in passion and in battles and in arguments and in agreements. It's book. The ideas are kept in that little place that needs no key to open. And the fact that many of us don't do that shows in our society that we do not read enough. So this is why we're pushing for this now. Really.
And is the argument that we put more premium on reading books as against reading generally from our phones or, you know, on online devices, or are you still advocating, you know, more value, more preference for the book format?
No. Any format of reading is fine by me. You see, the difference is that, unfortunately, we've actually left the culture of reading itself. You know, if you grow up reading and you keep reading, you know, from cradle to grave, you'll understand the difference between comments, banters, and a book, an article, you know, something that somebody has sat down to put together that respects history, appreciates logic, and is reverential to morals and value. A logical construct that is not just a banter. You see, unfortunately, because we're not reading enough, we do not care about the truth, about logic, about history anymore. People just say what they think. If you understand it, my friends, on Twitter is a good place to understand what happens to people who don't read. Following Twitter, for example, I have been tempted many times to ask myself that, is it possible that people learn how to write without learning how to read? Because when you see what people write sometimes, you realize they don't read. Yeah. And if you listen to our public discourse, as a matter of fact, whether, or indeed to some private discourse, you realize that people talk without sense of understanding of the full thing. And if you look at the way we express ourselves, you see that people don't read anymore. You see, you find people want to describe places to you and they cannot say left, they say that way or this way. Because we've lost that joy of precision, that joy of expression, of saying things the right way in a beautiful way.
But Professor, what could be responsible for this this trend where we have lost the value of reading, we've lost the culture of reading, we've lost the love of reading?
Well, it's a symptom of the country. First of all, people are too hungry to sit down, to meditate. But it's an error. It's an error. You see, that's the catch-22. People think, because I'm so poor, I'm so hungry, I'm so taken by everyday chore, I do not have time to read and ponder. But in reality, it is by reading and pondering that will take you out of poverty, that will elevate you. So we've lost it. You know, the immediate need has closed us. The other thing as well is a bit of infrastructure as well. You know, I've taken time to observe elsewhere in the world where people read. You know, they read on trains, they read on buses. In Nigeria, there's a problem. If you stay in your car and you try to read, the roads are bad. And for those who, I once led a class of senior executives at CIAPS, and I said to them, why don't you guys read? You have drivers. And they answered me, well, if you take off your eyes from your driver, you find yourself in hell. Because you might, so we have this kind of thing. But the other thing we have, so we have that. But the other thing we have as well is that we have not glorified reading and knowledge. Everything seems to be about grabbing and money. Even the children of elites, even educated people, are acting like thugs. The language of thugs is a prevailing language. There is no desire to stand up and say, I don't speak that way because I've gone to a good school.
Okay,
You know,
so
I don't use certain words because I read. We need to beautify, glorify reading. And this is a task of the elites to do.
yeah, so which even brings me to the next question now.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing as you run an institute that, you know, it's into learning,
Yes.
knowledge,
Yes.
acquisition and all that. So with all these challenges, how do you break the trend?
Well, very good. We break the trend, for starters, by starting from what we're doing this Christmas. We remind people, yes, money, food, wine, everything is good in your hamper, but add a book to it. Add a book, not as a means of saying read. I pause to say something. Part of the problem we have, you're saying, is that we've noticed, for example, that parents, when a child is doing something bad, you say, go and read your book. When they do something good, you give
take
them
them
ice
out.
cream. Maybe we should invert that.
So
to say-
book is like a punishment.
it's like a punishment. So we need to come and say, very good. Good, Junior. Take a book. You've behaved well. You've not behaved well. I'll seize that book from you that you're reading.
Okay.
We need to change that. And all parents are guilty of that. And as we say, this Christmas, let's start it. This is something very simple that everybody can do. Luckily, legally or illegally, unfortunately, there's books as low as 600 naira in Nigeria. So you don't really need to break a bank to buy a book. Put a book there, and when books say it, say I love you, say stop it, say start it, say this is what you need to be doing. With a book, you can say a lot.
Absolutely.
Basically, can you make us understand? Right from when we were small, parents and daddies and mommies will always say, read your book, read your book, read your... When it comes to really reading, what are those benefits? What are the real, if we have to narrow them down to the realities and tangibilities, what are the benefits of reading?
Well, I think straight to your question, the benefits of reading is that, one, somebody who reads knows more than people who do not read. A reader communicates better. If you read, you can communicate better either in writing or verbally, your emotions, your understanding, your fears, and your aspiration. You know, and you can put it in context, you communicate better, and you know more if you read. And in a way, a reader is less troubled by the troubles of the world. Because you can take yourself out of what is going on around you and immerse yourself in another world. And with reading, you can see the world without moving. You can travel in space, you can travel in time. So, you know, reading is a big thing that we ought to do. And when parents say read your book, they're right. Unfortunately, they do it only so that you can pass exam. The emphasis should have been that read your book so you can be a better person, so you can dream of the world, so you can see so many things that is beyond. And we really need to get people to read more. Employers should remember that employees who read more are better staff. Employers who read more are better bosses. So if you look at it from that point of view, staff should be giving their bosses books. Leaders, managers should be giving their staff books. You use a book to say to somebody, I want you to read this story so you can stop what you're doing. I want you to read this book so you can start doing things differently.
All right, but sorry, before Kemi will ask you any other question, when it comes to giving people books to read, like it's been advocated now, you can even put a book in a hamper and all
Absolutely.
of that. Should it matter if the person's temperament or the kind of books the person is going to like or the person's way of life and all of that? Should it matter the kind of books that is given to the person?
Well, it should matter. You see, the idea of giving somebody a gift is called a thought. I'm giving you this present because I thought about you, and this is what I think of you. That is why I'll give you champagne or I'll give you whiskey. That is why I'll give you food or I'll give you perfume. Because I think of you, and this is what I think you would like. This is what I think takes your fancy. The same way with a book, you should say, I think you should read this. I think this book reminds me of you. Or I think this is something you need to know. You know, it's a thought. With a book, you can say 1,000 words. You can cut with a book. We don't do that anymore. I mean, and it's cheaper to do. You know, give your loved one a book.
Right, so...
He said you can cut with the book.
You
Oh,
can,
that's
actually.
interesting.
But, all right, well, we've really run out of time. Professor Anthony Kila, I do hope that, you know, we can have another session you know, to know more about the art now in gifting books.
In gifting books,
In
yes.
gifting
We'll
books.
make you read.
Curious mind, you know, seeing your stance on this subject would want to know if you want to get a gift for someone this Christmas, where should I start from? What should I be looking out for?
Yes. Well, just the same way you get a scarf or a shoe or wine or whiskey or anything, you think about the person. What is the message I want to convey? Or what is the good book I feel, oh, people should read this book? I think in our life, if we're rational, we should have a list of books I would think everybody should read. You might just start from that. You read a good book, buy 10 copies and just give to different people. Or if you want to personalize it, think of somebody and think, with this book, I want you to discover this story or this history or this fact. With this book, I want you to start a habit or stop a habit. And then you go online or you go to supermarkets. Luckily for us, book is one of the most accessible things in Nigeria. We're just not looking for it. It's one of the cheapest. So if you get an amper, you know, from 500 naira to 5,000, even 50,000 is not too much to spend on the book. Nothing is too big, nothing is too little on the book. Just give it out there.
All right. A lot of people, when the mention of book, a lot of people look to the old school of the hard copy book where you have to flip the pages and all of that. Now, keeping that on one side and looking at e-books where you can read online and all of that, which do you think is more advisable for people now to have access to?
I think it's personal. You know, there's some people who still like the feel of turning the page. Let them turn the page. There are people who do better with electronic book. It depends on who you are and your generation. The important thing is to get to it. You see, the joy of reading is that it's inclusive. It's never exclusive. Anybody can read anything. The pauper, the prince have access to great knowledge through books.
Well, it's become a form of tradition now to see celebrities and the likes now coming out at this time of the year with must-reads.
Yes.
For you, what would it be, the must-reads in this season?
Well, what I think, it depends. The must-read in this season, I would divide into two categories. One is to plan for the future. One is to enjoy yourself, and one is to discover. That way, you're allowed to go 360. You know, just think about it. A book to plan for the new year, a book to really enjoy yourself, and another book to discover the world or to discover history or knowledge or a certain sector.
And all these areas, they're a wide range to pick
They're
from.
wide range. You see, that's the thing about books. Books are like people. Some of them are rich, some of them are poor, some are beautiful, some are ugly. Some are pleasant, some are difficult. And book covers every aspect of life. You know, we just don't remind ourselves. And I really hope people who can will help to let others discover books. There are books for children, there are books for adults, there are books for male, female. Everything is there about books. It's like a ship, it's got everything on it.
All right. Are there best times to read or even a place to read? Are they because in a society where people are involved with different things, there are different challenges in one's life, you're facing them. But are there best times to read and even best places to read?
You see, it's personal. The thing about book is that with a book you can say a lot. Okay. With a book you can tell people do not disturb. You know, just take a book, not a magazine, a book. And hold it in your face, and you know, tell people
shut
not
out
to
the world.
And shut out the world. And with a book, you can actually start conversation. If you see what people are reading, part of what we're missing is to start a line with what are you reading lately? What are you reading? What's on your desk or your bedside? And where can you read? Anywhere. A book absorbs you so much that if you read, you go into the kitchen. You get out of your food or your coffee, and you don't even notice if the kitchen is messy. If you have a good book taking you, you don't even notice the problems, the little problems of the world. You get a bigger picture. And then when you have time, you clean it up very quickly. So you can read anywhere. It's not a problem.
Okay, you were saying earlier on about, you know, among the must-haves or the must-reads, a book, a feel-good book.
Yes.
But can you gift that?
You can gift that, actually. You should gift that. You know, you should make people feel good. You know, if somebody's having a hard time, give them a good book that will make them laugh. But you must have read it yourself. And if you haven't read it, go to the bookshop, people know. and if you can't find a bookshop, this is the beauty of the world, the big oracle.
Okay.
Just go online and Google a question about it. and just look for it, and you find it.
Okay, so it's advisable if you're giving a gift of a book, at least you should have read it. It'll
Yes.
be good.
Well, if you haven't read it, get information.
Absolutely.
Better thing if you've read it. But if you haven't read it, look for other people's review.
All right.
Again, you're reading.
Professor Anthony Kila,
Thank you.
thank you very much for your
Thank you
insights.
so much for the
Thank
time.
you for having me.
Thank you.